Once upon a time, in the misty mountains and quiet valleys of ancient China, there lived three old monks. Men whose faces were lined with years, but whose eyes sparkled with eternal youth. Their names were never recorded, not because they were forgotten, but because they chose to remain unknown. They carried no scrolls, no writings, no formal teachings carved in a stone or inked onto parchment. Instead, they carried something far more powerful: laughter. Not the laughter of mockery, nor the laughter of cruelty, but the laughter of freedom. The kind of laughter that comes from someone who has seen through the illusions of the world and found joy at its very core. These monks traveled together always, side by side, like the three notes of a perfect harmony. They wore simple robes, their feet bare or wrapped in worn cloth, and they walked slowly, as if savoring every step. No one knew where they came from, and no one could predict where they would go next. But wherever they appeared, something changed. They would enter a village, often just before sunset, when the day's work was done and the air was thick with the scent of rice and wood smoke. Without a word, they would walk to the center of the town square, stand beneath the old banyan tree or beside the well where the women drew water, and begin to laugh. At first, it was soft, a gentle chuckle here, a bubbling giggle there. But then, like ripples spreading across still water, the laughter grew. A child looked up, puzzled, and grinned. An old man scratched his beard, smiled, and then let out a deep belly laugh. Women paused mid-conversation. Merchants stopped weighing coins, and even the sternest of elders cracked a smile. Soon, the entire village was laughing, not because anything funny had happened, but simply because the monks were laughing. And somehow that was enough. It wasn't just sound. It was a kind of energy, a vibration that seemed to cleanse the heart of sorrow, soften the sharp edges of worry, and remind people of something they had long forgotten. That life, in all its chaos and confusion, is ultimately absurd, and that absurdity is beautiful. For years, the monks wandered from province to province, from mountain temple to riverside hamlet. With each stop, they left behind not sermons or scriptures, but smiles and joy. People began to wait for them, to speak of their arrival like the coming of spring after winter. Children would run to greet them. Elders would bow in respect, and even the most hardened hearts would find themselves softened. And yet, not once did the monks ever speak. Not once did they offer explanations or advice. Their silence was golden, their presence was peaceful, and their laughter was their only teaching. But then came the day that changed everything. They arrived at a small northern village nestled among the snow-capped hills, where the wind howled like wolves and the winters were long and bitter. The villagers welcomed them as always, offering tea and warm blankets. The monks laughed as they always did, and soon the whole village joined in. But the next morning, one of them was gone. The news spread like wildfire. One of the three laughing monks, the oldest perhaps, though none could be sure, had passed away in his sleep. There had been no warning, no illness, no sign. He simply closed his eyes and left this world behind. People rushed to the courtyard where the monks had slept. Two stood silently, while the third lay still beneath a thin cotton sheet. There was silence at first, stunned, heavy silence. Then came the murmurs. Why aren't they crying? Do they not care? They've lost one of their own. And then, suddenly, the two remaining monks began to laugh. Not quietly, not gently. They laughed with full force, tears streaming down their cheeks, hands on their bellies, heads thrown back toward the sky. The crowd was stunned. Some were angry, others confused. One woman stepped forward, trembling with emotion. How can you laugh at a time like this? He was your friend. One of the monks wiped his eye and said, yes, he was. The other nodded and added, yesterday, on our way here, he made a bet with us. He said, let's see who dies first. And now he won. A hush fell over the crowd. Some shook their heads. Others exchanged glances. But a few began to smile. Then the second monk continued. He even left instructions. He wanted to be buried in the same clothes he wore when he arrived. This surprised everyone. Normally, the dead were washed, dressed in new robes, and sent off with prayers and incense. But the old monk had insisted, "I have never allowed the filth of this world to touch me. Not in thought, not in action, not in spirit. My laughter kept me pure." So, with reverence, the villagers honored his wish. His body was placed gently on the funeral pyre, wrapped in the same tattered robe he had worn for years. As the fire was lit, the flames danced, curling around the wood, reaching higher and higher. And then, from within the blaze, something impossible happened. A burst of light, 100 colors exploding into the sky. Fireworks of red and gold, blue and green, spiraled upward, lighting up the heavens like stars reborn. Gasps filled the air, eyes widened, hearts opened, and then, one by one, the people began to laugh, softly at first, then louder, until the whole village was laughing again. Not out of disrespect, not out of confusion, but out of understanding. They finally saw what the monks had been trying to teach all along. Life is not meant to be taken so seriously. Death is not an end, but a continuation. Joy is not fleeting. It is eternal if we allow ourselves to hold on to it. The two remaining monks bowed to the crowd, turned, and walked away, still smiling, still laughing, as if nothing had changed. And maybe nothing had changed, because true joy does not die. It lives on in those who carry it in their hearts. You see, in life, in your life, maybe the only reason we are here on this earth is so we can laugh, and keep laughing. So next time you face a problem, look in the mirror and laugh the problem away. Because your joy, your laughter, is what makes you truly alive. This is the story of the three laughing monks, not about death, but about the immortality of joy.